All right, we're now joined by the chairperson of the House Committee on Public Accounts, Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Ridon. Representative Ridon, good morning to you.
Good morning, Karen. Thank you for having me.
All right, now, do you believe that the House actually still has the credibility to investigate the corruption with flood control projects?
Well, I think the commitment of the House of Representatives is basically to implement the presidential pronouncement to look into flood control projects. So as a result of the briefings, the House will be forming a tri-committee with the Public Accounts Committee, Public Works Committee, and the Good Government Committee to look into all the infrastructure and flood control projects that are deemed anomalous, substandard, ghost, and incomplete projects by the DPWH.
All right, but then would you actually have the courage, for example? I mean, I saw that hearing and actually barraging the DPWH, the agencies, they're not the prime, they're not the masterminds of the corruption here, right? You've seen how the budget is made, kung saan sinisingit, ginagamit ang flood control. The president comes out with a list, so dediretsuhin na kita. Yung SunWest Incorporated had 79 projects na flood control. They were given 10 billion pesos. Ang founder nun, si Zaldico. Ang High Tone, 61 projects. 4.8 billion pesos. This is on record. Bakit di sila ang ipatawag? Parang naglolokohan tayong lahat. Pinapagalitan nyo yung DPWH, pero yung totoo, the corruption starts with Congress owning contractual companies, these construction companies, and getting alleged kickbacks. So will you call them?
Well, ang trigger po for the tri-committee to invite anyone, including legislators, including...
No, will you call Zaldico? That's a direct question.
Yes, if he is named as a part of anomalous deals, then he will be asked.
No, he is a founder of, he is a part owner, SunWest and High Tone. Records show it. So will they be called? And
yes,
you will call them?
Yes, if they are named as part of anomalous transactions relating to infrastructure and flood control projects, then they will be asked to sit before the tri-committee and explain themselves. But again, to be very clear, I've seen all of the other documents. I think Congressman Zaldico has already divested himself from SunWest.
I mean, Representative Ridon, you and I know that everybody divests themselves, but that is just a matter of record. Divesting means nothing. You know that. Matanda na tayo. Alam natin yun.
Well, but again, to be very clear, this divestment is the particular requirement under the law. No? So, ibig sabihin, if he is actually, again, the trigger for the investigation, whoever it is, whether a legislator, contractor, high government official, if they are named in an anomalous deal, they will be asked to sit before Congress and explain themselves.
Okay, because to focus on the contractors themselves would be, I would have to say, half the justice done. Because ang contractor, hindi naman lalakas ang loob ng contractor kung walang backer yan na congressman. Alam mo naman yun. Sino namang contractor gagawa ng substandard na trabaho kung hindi siya hiningan? Diba? Kinailangan na niyang magbayad in advance. So now the contractor has no choice.
Well, again, these are assumptions that you are making at this point, Karen. No? We would want to be able to see it on a fact-to-fact basis, on a case-to-case basis. Ito po actual anomalies that are being seen with the flood control project. And again, in the hearing in the briefing yesterday, the DPWH actually said that to date, the 15 contractors named by the president, they have not seen yet, as of yet, anomalies relating to substandard projects, anomalies related to...
Then why do the investigation at all? Why waste the people's money and do it if you are not out for blood? It seems to me that, you're telling me, walang problema, ba't ka pa mag-iimbestiga?
And kailangan ho natin to do a step-by-step. This is not a witch hunt, Karen. I think we have to be able to explain to the people how the process actually works for us to be able to see where the policy gaps are and to make sure that the gaps are actually plugged. No? Kaya nga ho, no less than Majority Leader Sandro Marcos had already stated na gusto niya ho yung bill ni Senate President Cheese na to further expand yung pong mga disclosures and prohibitions po ng mga magkakamag-anak ng mga politiko na sumasali po sa mga kontrata ng gobyerno.
Okay, but Representative, I want to ask you, do you believe it is a conflict of interest for a congressman to own a construction company and actually participate in government projects?
Well, I to state the constitutional prohibition. Members of Congress, senators or congressmen cannot be involved in any government contract. So, whatever it is, whether construction or supply of goods, hindi ho sila pwedeng kasama po rito. At kung kasama man sila rito, dapat pagbayarin ho sila, panagutin po sila. Not just the constitutional prohibition, anti-graft laws, anti-graft and corruption law po natin, bawal po within the third degree of consanguinity na nakikisawsaw yung po mga kamag-anak ng mga politiko.
And do you believe, Representative Ridon, that legislators are violating this?
As of today, wala pa ho tayong nakikita ng dokumento eh. We are leading an investigation, so we will have to be able to rely on the documents and the facts that are being presented to us as we go along the investigation. Pero I'm quite certain, we had seen it already in the PDAF scam. Pagka merong whistleblower ho na nagpunta sa Kongreso, nagpunta sa executive, blows the whistle, I think sa dulo naman po magkakaalaman po talaga tayo kung sino po yung mga sangkot dito.
Okay, so Representative, I know that the budget has now, Malacanang has already submitted the 2026 budget. So I want to show you the 2025 budget that Representative Toby Tiangco showed on Head Start. If we can show it, I want to ask you how you believe this happened, right? So what we're showing you right now is a district in Mindoro wherein the NEP had 2.5 billion pesos first for DPWH flood control, or I guess that's a total DPWH infra for a district in Mindoro. The next is 1.5 billion. Tapos nung lumabas sa GAA, naging 20.9 billion. Sa Mindoro, yung isa 20.7. Ang tanungan ng ilan, nagtatayo ba ng skyway doon? So do you see it now? So there was an additional 18.4 billion given to that district, 19.2 billion given to that district. Representative Ridon, how does this happen in the lower house?
Well, again, it's not just the lower house who is on trial here, no? What is on trial here would be what Congressman Tiangco mentioned as the small committee and what everyone is looking at as the bicameral conference committee, because this is where all the congressional insertions made by congressmen and senators are, no? So he might be correct that there were congressional initiatives implemented during the small committee on that particular Mindoro district, but it was taken out during the bicameral conference committee. But to be very clear, that is part of the entire budget process.
But this was added. This was added.
Yes. Yes, I think it was added after the NEP was done and before the BICAM had been determined, no? So basically it was made under the small committee, hindi po ba? So but again, that small committee determination will ultimately be vetoed by the bicameral conference committee, which is why we had seen an actual cut at the very end.
The president did not release. So what happened? The president just did not release. He was quite cautious. He didn't release, I was told roughly, well, what I heard is 87 billion plus. But at the end of the day, when you looked at the GAA, the 2025 general appropriations, you did have districts, those two districts, having more than 20 billion pesos. Is it justifiable for any district to have 20 billion pesos?
I think any district that is provided funding for infrastructure, for social services, or whatever else, no, beyond what has been granted by the National Expenditure Program given by the President, I think is simply an implementation of the power of the purse of Congress in the Senate. No? So, ibig sabihin, like what Senator Ejercito earlier mentioned, there is actually nothing inherently wrong with congressional initiatives for as long as these projects are actually benefit their particular constituency. No, so I
But
think that's what happened here.
from 2 billion to 20 billion, are you saying that's justifiable in any way for a small for a district? Seriously?
I think I'm not in a position to make a determination on which district is more important or which constituency is more important. But ultimately, if this is the determination of the small committee, but was
Now,
vetoed
do you
by the
believe
by,
the small
by-
committee should exist?
well, the small committee has existed even prior to
Yeah.
last Congress. It
So
has
should it
existed.
still exist?
I think it has been abolished already. It will be subjected to a new subcommittee that will be convened by Congress, and I think the Senate will have their own version of a subcommittee as well to make it more transparent and make it more accountable to the public. So I think this is already history. The subcommittee is what we are looking at today for the
Okay. Kasi
2026
I
budget.
think ang tanong ko, Representative Ridon, will you be one of those who will help make the budget more transparent? And because the 2025 budget was described as scandalous and one of the most corrupt, right? So I want to ask, where do you belong? Will you
Well,
be the one to help check and make sure that your colleagues do not try it again?
well,
Or will you stay silent and allow it?
Well, it is my commitment as chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee and as part of the minority to actually make sure that the budget is accountable to the nation, that the budget will be transparent. No? So, again, the subcommittee is one of the reforms that they want to undertake, and civil society participation, I think, even at that level, is being assured by the current House leadership. So, I think it is something that we would want to be able to undertake in the next couple of weeks as we go through the budget.
All right, that's good to know. And I'm curious, did you vote for a speaker this time?
No, I abstained, which is why I'm in the minority.
And does that affect you? I think you're 35 all in all. Is that correct? Are you 37?
No, I'm 39 now.
No, I meant the
Sorry?
minority. How many are you in
Okay,
the
sorry.
minority? Yes, I think you're 35 or 37.
I forget. I think around 30.
Okay. And how does this affect all of you? You know, frankly speaking.
I don't think there's no practical effect relating to us being in the minority, but except in terms of votes. No, but obviously, the minority will still articulate what it needs to articulate. The Makabayan bloc is there. The Akbayan bloc is also there, and former Senator De Lima is there. Attorney Jokna is there. So I'm quite certain that in terms of assuring transparency in the budget process, it is something that they will actually undertake.
Okay. My last question is Congressman Sandro Marcos, a majority leader, said that he feels a third party should investigate the flood control projects and not Congress, since some of your members are accused, right? I mean, the belief is they're involved in the whole corruption with the flood control. Now, what are your thoughts with Congressman Sandro Marcos's statement that hindi dapat kayo ang mag-imbestiga sa sarili ninyo?
Well, I think if legislators are actually named in anomalous contracts, it is something that he is correct, that it is something that a third-party probe should undertake. But not all of the anomalous contracts are involving legislators anyway. So I think the Tri-Committee should still have jurisdiction and oversight over these types of anomalous contracts.
Okay. And Representative, my last question, what will you change if you were to change something in the way flood control projects are implemented? How would you change it to make sure that legislators, mayors, etc., politicians don't take advantage of the funding that is in flood control? What would you do?
Well, I think the most important reform in flood control would be to make sure that there are actual studies, even prior to implementation, irrespective of whether it is NEP originated or irrespective whether it is congressional initiative originated. I think that is where allegations of substandard quality, in delays and incomplete projects actually arise, no? Because particularly because DPWH already stated it. If you have congressional initiative originated flood control projects, they have such a small period of time to actually undertake the feasibility studies for these projects.
Okay. And are you hopeful with this president? I mean, being in the minority, do you believe that President Marcos Jr. means business?
Well, I think it's a real commitment because he already stated that talagang pagka ho nagkatampuhan dito, wala na siyang magagawa, no? And I'm quite certain that the 15 contractors are actually supporters of the president. So if they're in fact found to have been participating in anomalous projects, I think he is dead serious about holding them accountable, however way it will be, whether through criminal charges, blacklisting, or administrative charges.
On that note, I want to thank you for joining me today, Chairman of Public Accounts, Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Ridon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.